tomorrow. Um, all right. So yeah, I'm a part of the 2023 batch, and yeah, that's kind of it.
Yes. We have Utkarsh Nigam. Uh, yes, Utkarsh, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. I'm Utkarsh from fourth year CSE. I interned with Microsoft last year and looking forward to answer your queries or questions that you have for today's session.
Okay. With Diamond.
Hello everyone, I am Diamond. I am from EC 2023 batch. Currently, I am in third year, and my internship starts from tomorrow.
Yes. Malika.
Hello everyone, this is Malvika, CSE batch of 2022. So I interned with Microsoft last year, and I'm an incoming SD at Microsoft this year. And yeah, looking forward to a great interaction with you guys.
Um, Naman, did you join? Do we have Naman or Shivam up there? Yes. Okay, maybe you guys have joined yet. Okay. So, in this session, we'll first of all ask you a few questions regarding the preparation phase and then how was the interview process like, and then the internship process of 2022 syllabus, right? And then we have many other questions from Google Form we circulated earlier, and then we'll be taking questions from the chat section. So, I'll be asking questions. Any of the selects can answer my question and can add on to the question answered earlier. So, talking about your preparation phase, what are the things you think must be covered when one is preparing for their interviews? So, this syllabus basically we'll discuss first.
So yeah, like most companies, Microsoft also focuses mainly on the data structures and algorithms part for their coding tests. So that's what you have to prepare for. Um, but that's just the coding test part of it. The interviews which they take are, more focused on the more practical and useful aspects of computer sciences. So the questions that were asked in the interviews were very different from what we had, studied for data structure and algorithms. There they assess you on the skills that you have gathered as a computer science student, and not in addition to being a student of data structure and algorithms as well. So you have to take a lot of care when you're studying, say, DBMS or operating systems, because they like to ask questions upon that as well.
I would like to add something in Jatin's answer. Um, the questions that they ask are basically like they would ask you like one or two questions. Mostly it's just one question, and they will keep on increasing the like they will keep on increasing the constants. So like suppose you have a string of 10 numbers, and they will just keep on increasing and see how well you could um, like convert, like you can make the solution more efficient. So that is what they also focus on.
So, in the theoretical portion, you can say operating system DBMS is important, object-oriented program is very important as well. And you should be proficient in one language, and data structures algorithms is something that matters a lot because that is something that you get your test clear. And afterwards in the interview process also, they try to understand your deep knowledge and basically your clarity of the basic concepts of these things. Data structures and algorithms is the most important, but at the same time, you cannot neglect the questions. So, um, what was your your experience in development side like? So, did you guys focus only mostly in the data structure and algorithms portion? That is something that is asked after all in the interviews. And so, what was your development experience like? Did you guys make much project? So, that thing.
Well, I think the main focus should be on data structures and algorithms. Development should be secondary it should be second in our priority list, but good basic knowledge of development to like some basic web development projects or some other kind of projects in some in one or two languages you are proficient in, they are always a plus point on on your CV.
Yeah, to add on to Diamond's point, basically having good projects in your resume definitely helps you and makes you stand out. Specifically, in maybe the last round where they do ask some specific questions regarding your resume, but the more focus should be on data structures and algorithms, because the first two rounds are totally based on data structure and algorithms.
Maybe you guys can share what did you do in the development side, what technologies or projects you guys made.
Okay, so I had two projects. One was based with vanilla JavaScript and basic HTML, CSS, and Django on the backend. The other was with React and Django. So these were my two web development projects that I did. And these were in part of like the college courses itself. Like might make one project for your EAD course, and other than that, you might also do one for your Python course or some other course like that.
Yes. Malika, would you like to share what projects you worked on?
Sorry, I couldn't get the question. The development projects?
Yeah, your experience in
Yeah.
developing the projects you worked on.
Yeah. So, like, what I believe is, I personally had three projects on my resume. But if you just have one proper project in your resume, even that will do good. And most importantly, you don't fake it, and you know each and like you should state your role first of all. Like, you usually work in teams, so you should state what is your role and what technologies, like the concept of the technologies that you used. Like, if you are using Django, you should be knowing the basic concepts of it. So basically, they focus on that. And projects, in my experience, about the projects, they asked me in the second round of the interviews, and they do ask very like a basic questions. So it's just that you should have just written those things in your resume that you have done.
Shiva, would you like to share?
Mm, am I audible?
Yes. A
Yeah.
little, uh, yeah, your voice is a little dim. Can you be a little louder?
Yeah, I can speak louder if it's audible now.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
please.
yeah, regarding projects, the main thing they judged me was that what I learned from them. So, the major question asked to me by HR was that what were your major challenges that you faced in your project? What were the major errors? Not all the errors, the major errors, and how you solved them. So, you should have one or two projects that reflect the technologies that you're comfortable with. Plus, as Malvika also said, you should be honest about them, and you should not fake what you are saying. And these things, that what you learn from the project, how do you resolve conflicts if any of those conflicts arose in the team, or how are the challenges solved? They are the major points. What the project was, whether it was an employee management system, whether it was an hostel management system, it doesn't really matter. Whether it was food management system, matters what you did and what you learned from the projects. So you should not think about that I have to make a project that is too unique in the idea, that I have to make something like I have to apply for NASA. It isn't like that. You should make something simple but learn the most out of it, and that is what they look for. Yep, that's what I would like to add.
Okay. Yeah, in my experience as well, they asked me basic questions about technologies I used, and you should be thorough of the technologies you're mentioning in your resume. So, um, what was your preparation of data structures and algorithms phase like? Your practice of questions on platforms, and how did you improve there? Where did you start from? How did you improve there? And uh, so, your learnings and tips for juniors and that. The preparation of data structures and algorithms, the practice of questions.
So My preparation journey, I would just tell like how I prepared. So I used to do mostly lead code. The reason being because you can really like filter out the questions topic wise and the difficulty wise. Apart from this, lead code has many. It covers all the test cases, and it's far better than Geeks for Geeks because I think there are some test cases that Geeks for Geeks really leave out. So it's not as good as a website as other people think. So yeah, on lead code also you could do around 300 to 400 questions, and not like you just do all the easy questions. Have a good ratio between easy, medium, and hard questions. Also, Microsoft focuses more over arrays, strings, and trees, I guess. My question was based purely on arrays and hashing, and I have never heard any like graph question being asked, but it doesn't mean that you leave it. So yeah, mostly arrays and strings they focus on, and they focus on how efficient it is. So yeah, lead code is a good platform to practice on.
Yeah, even I would vouch for lead code because I like started very late for preparation for the interviews, and I totally focused on lead code. And maybe a few days before when the interviews are starting, you can also try out interview bit because they provide a very like a roadmap kind of thing with starting from arrays to building up on basic concepts from there. So these two platforms are what I use for my preparations, and I think they were pretty good enough and had almost all the topics and related questions. And even some of if you have coded something in lead code, you could check out the discuss section and see better efficient approaches, because in interview you will get one question, you might give one approach, and then they might increase difficulty in that itself. Like they would ask you to optimize it further, or if you're like, let's take an example of linked list. So when you're writing a code for linked list, you might have iterated it twice. They might ask you to do it in one single iteration. So always looking for the best like a more efficient approach would definitely help you while preparing. So don't just do it if you are passing the test cases. You should also look at other people's solutions so that you can learn something new from their approach as well.
Also, Lead Code comes out as a very thorough website. So it has a lot of questions on all the topics that they cover, right? So if you are short on time, I'd suggest that you go for Interview Bit instead, because Interview Bit has only a few questions per topic, but those questions are very specific and those questions are not repeated. So you would find a lot of questions on Lead Code which use some similar way of solving. Okay, so if you have a lot of time and you want to really get better, lead code is the way to go. But as it came around to be with me, I did not have a lot of time to practice, so I went for interview bit instead. And it's also a very helpful website if you really want to learn.
Yes. Make sure you cover the questions that are asked most of the times, and you have a thorough practice of it. In my experience, I've asked graphs in internship interviews, so I would suggest don't leave that, because some companies do ask graphs as well, and some of them do ask graphs even in their coding rounds. Be sure ask graphs in the coding round too. Uh, yes. So try to cover all the data structures so that you don't face difficulty on that. So some of the resources I would like to suggest where we can learn data structures and algorithms. Am I audible?
Hi everyone. Actually, you can go on and read CTCI. This is a book, and also you can just read Corman for algorithms. Apart from it, for learning theory, you can go and check out cpalgorithm.com because it has concise list of whatever topics that you want to learn. It has everything, not just data structures. It has stuff related to competitive programming as well. So you can just check out CP algorithms, and for DSA preparation, you also require solutions from different users. For example, when you try to code on Lead Code, we have uh, Lead 215 and Hypit. These are two good users. You can go and check out their solution because they do a lot of question in the minimized complexity. So whenever you try to code something, just go and look the discuss section and try to see which users do it in the best time. So editorials are a good source of learning DSA as well, and you can just check out CP algorithms for stuff related to competitor. Yeah.
Okay. For learning data structures and algorithms, there are a few suggestions from my side. There are a few YouTube channels that I personally like a lot, which includes Apna College, the playlist of interview preparation that you guys might haven't most probably have heard of. Um, and then Aditya Verma for dynamic programming. I mean, refer to that playlist in a lot of sessions. I really liked it. And there are a few resources from my recommendations. I have made a Google Doc of that. I'll share that doc in this meeting. So,
Also for graph theory, you can just refer William Fiset's playlist. It is from Free Code Camp, and it is the best playlist for graphs as by far that I've known.
uh, maybe you can share the links in the chat section in case.
Yeah, sure.
So, for practicing data structures and algorithms, some of you recommended Lead Code and some interview with any other recommendations. Well, I mainly use Lead Code and Geeks for Geeks. And some able to use interview with and some other platforms as well. I don't recall right now. But yes, many of my friends use Lead Code and benefited from that actually. Some use only Lead Code in fact.
Hello. Yeah, what I would like to add over here is that one should not switch between platforms a lot when you are preparing. So what happens with students over time is that one of their friends is doing lead code, other one is doing interview bit, and he tells that interview bit is better. One says GFG is worse. So people keep switching, and they actually don't practice questions, and they just keep on switching from one website to the other website. So take one website, stick to it. It's an obvious thing that lead code has better test cases than other than as compared to GFG. But even if you are preparing from GFG, that's not a bad choice. Just stick to it, practice questions, and get away with the topic. Complete the topic or complete the major questions of the topic or the interview experiences of the topic. But don't switch. But don't keep rumbling between websites. I practiced for my preparation. I practiced everything from GFG, as everyone here has already degraded the level of GFG, so I didn't comment anything. But I practiced only from GFG, and I knew that some test cases are bad, but that doesn't hinder your concept learning. Actually, you know the concept, you will apply it. If you think that the question is wrongly formatted in GFG, you can go to lead code for that specific question. But it really depends on one website. Take one website and do it thoroughly.
I was using only Geeks for Geeks earlier, then I switched to Lead Code at a stage. So yeah, means Geeks for Geeks is also the website. I also want to say that no, it's not. But I personally liked both actually Lead Code a little bit more. Yeah. For development, any resources you guys would like to share?
For Django, I was referring the YouTube channel called Telesco. So it was like development. I think it doesn't happen more with if you just keep on watching tutorials, understand the basics from any YouTube channel. It doesn't matter. Just understand the basics and then start making the project on your own. Because once you start making it, you come across a lot of errors and then you try to resolve it. And during that process, you learn more rather than watching YouTube tutorials. So for starting, like for Django, the Django is only technology that I learned. So to start that, you can just refer any YouTube channel. I refer Telesco, and then just make sure that you make a project by yourself if you really want to learn the technology, because during the making only you will learn half, more than half of the things.
Yeah, to like agreeing with Malvika in this point, like once you go through a tutorial, you like you should also refer to the documentation part, because you should know how to read the documentation, understand the errors that any technology like Django has very specific errors for each and every problem that you might face, and you should be able to understand those and why that particular thing is occurring. Because in internship also you might not get as many tutorials for the particular technology you're working with, or the kind of architecture that you are dealing with. You should be able to read the documentation and understand while developing various projects that you might take in future.
Yes. So your learnings from the preparation phase or suggestions in general and tips for juniors? Anything we might have missed on? Or you would like to add?
And one tip from my side, be consistent. Like if your internship phase is coming, so be consistent for like 3 to 4 months at least. Yeah.
For once you start preparing, means not preparing, like practicing questions in the first year. I did that. I started practicing a few questions here and there in the first semester itself. So that helped me. There are different kinds of experiences you can hear. Like there are people who prepare entirely in 4 to 5 months. I even didn't know STL 4 to 5 months before the interviews. So I did major portion at that time only. But yes, uh, getting a hands-on on coding a little earlier helped me. So anything else?
Yeah, I would like to say that practicing DSA and practicing CP or DSA and giving interview, they are two different things. So during the preparation phase, don't only focus on solving questions. It isn't always like that. If you are the best problem solver, you will crack the interview. You should know the art of giving an interview, how to keep your mind cool, how to be in a friendly way with the interviewer. Sometimes there are two interviewers at the same time. How to talk in a friendly way, how to convey what you are thinking, and I mean how to look past some nuances of problem and give a very decent question answer in a very polite way. These are some of the things that people don't look upon. They are only focusing on how to solve question, time complexity, space complexity, but interviewers judge you on many different aspects also, how you are overall. Sometimes the best coder of the college doesn't get placed in the best company. So I mean, focus on those things also, how to give an interview.
Oh, yes, definitely. Uh, your code preparation includes subjects, those theoretical subjects, and your coding skills, but these skills also matter. And for that, CTGC conducts seminars that I would highly recommend you guys to attend. Those did help me understand what are the things that one must keep in mind when interviewing in general. So, yes, now coming to the interview preparation part, this is the question, the interview skills basically. What are the interview skills? Means, okay, what are the things one should keep in mind other than the core preparation part? When one has prepared the coding experience and the theoretical subjects and everything. So, what are the things one should keep in mind afterwards? The skills part, the art of giving an interview.
Yeah, the common things which are available, everything over all over the internet are the same. The first thing is you should convey what you are thinking. You are thinking in your mind, the interviewer, and there is a silence all over the place in the interview. That's not a good thing. Even if you are thinking about a wrong solution, speak about it. It doesn't matter. Also, be polite. Don't be like this, that interviewer is wrong. Sometimes the interviewer also says something wrong. They are not gods. They can say wrong things also, but don't be like that, hey, you are wrong and I am right. Be a little polite, be a little humble. Plus, don't flaunt, don't throw your weight around with something you don't know. I remember I in my D show interview I told that I know T Kinter, And then they asked me what are events in Tkinter and how does things work in Tkinter, and I was like, I don't know, I'm really sorry. So say only those things you know that you know truly. Don't say something you're not familiar with and you're just saying you think that the interviewer will look past it, but he will catch it if he's a good interviewer. So these are the things that are required. Apart from that, keep calm mind, and these are the things that are available all over the internet also. So the main thing is be polite and speak what you're thinking and don't flaunt.
Adding to Shivam's answer, I would just like to share one experience that happened in my first interview, in Microsoft's interview, in fact. So the question given to me, I wasn't able to solve that question fully, and still I got I went to the second round. The reason being, I didn't solve the whole question, but the whole time I was just conveying that what I am thinking during my what is my thinking process. So I think just because I was speaking out loud, and the process, whatever I was thinking, that was the only thing that got me promoted to the second round. So that really plays an important role. Apart from this, as Shivam suggested, be polite. Like if you're not good at communicating things, you won't be able to get selected so easily. I have seen many people who has such great coding skills, but still they don't get selected just because their communication skills are not that good. So communication really plays an important part. I would say that if your coding plays 40%, 60% of the part communication will play. So focus on that as well.
By communication, I think she also means that if you're able to communicate, you're able to communicate the thought process, and the interviewer is trying to get into your thought process. That yes, what are the different ways you're trying to solve the question? So communication skills are important to communicate what you are thinking, like to get it there as well. So anything else? Anyone would like to add? Okay. So, as it has been already covered, someone did mention that, but to mention a basic approach to the question first, then then show that you are optimizing it. Even if you know the most optimized solution beforehand, do try to show the thinking process that yes, you are optimizing solution now. And in some cases, the interview will clearly get it that yes, you know the question already. In that case, if they do ask you that yes, do you know the question, do try to mention it honestly. I mean, you can see according to the situation there itself. But in my case, I did mention that, and it's not that it will play a very negative role on your side. That then what is the process, what's the thinking process right now, what are you doing right now? It's just a question you have already seen. So try to be honest, that gives you confidence and reflects there as well many times. So any other resources or your learning suggestions from the interview process? I think we have covered most of that thing. And we've also covered the core syllabus for the software engineering interviews that she covered, which um, anyone would like to read it through. In case my voice is not really clearly audible, you guys can please tell me. Okay. So yes, the syllabus that must be covered includes those theoretical subjects, OS and DBMS. Okay. Uh, okay, I can join through phone in that case, in case my voice is not audible.
Ma'am, should I continue with forms question till then?
Um, okay, maybe we can cover these questions first. It'll take 10 minutes, I think. Uh, let's go on.
You weren't audible. What did you say?
Just a second. Okay. Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, great. So yeah. Uh, so the core syllabus for the software engineering interview specifically, we have already discussed that. Mostly, which is operating system and DBMS for the theoretical portion, then data structures and algorithms, in-depth basic knowledge of the thing, the clarity of the basics basically, and then a lot of practice on that side. Computer networking is asked in some of the interviews. SQL is asked in some too. Computer science is mostly not asked. Like it might be asked in really rare cases, I would say. And then SQL might be asked in a few cases. I was asked SQL in only one company. And then object oriented programming is very important too. So that is on the syllabus part. Then coming to the internship experiences of the 2022 selects, I would request each one of you to share the internship experience one by one. Not the very sensitive information, but in general, your experience. Malvika,
Gidya, could you please repeat the question?
your internship experience.
Okay, so like what happened in the internship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so my internship, so it was like for 5 or 5.5 months, right? So to be honest, in the initial 2 and a half months, I didn't code anything. Like there was no submission of my code. The reason being, you still have to ramp up a lot of things. Uh, since I never worked on open source, so it was very intimidating to see such a large code base and then understanding it. And since I was given a new service to create, I had to form the design document for it. So if you are given, so in Microsoft, if you are given a new feature to work upon, they focus a lot on its design documentation. What will be the design structure of your implementation? So they focus more on that part. You will anyways code it. Like coding is not difficult for you guys once you enter there, because you would have debugged your existing project so much that you would know how to like create functions and etc whatever. But the two main parts that I think is the design documentation that you have to work on, and then at the last, I also did the testing part. So even that was very difficult. So I would say it's not like it won't be that easy for you guys in the first 2 months, because you have to understand, um, if you have to understand the problem statement also correctly. Because to be honest, I struggled with understanding my problem statement also. So that is the thing. But once you put in your efforts, it becomes easy to like code it. So coding part is not difficult in internship at all. But the thing is how what you have to code, that is something that you need to think about. So that is where I struggled, like of what to code. Apart from that, is what nice. Also, yeah, I would add something afterwards, like how to get a PPT or something. So that was my internship experience in short.
Okay. Cool. Shivam.
Yeah, so in my internship, I was part of two teams. From January to March, I was in one team, and for the rest part, I was in another team. So the internship experience as such was quite great. You have, it depends on team to team what kind of work you do. It depends on your team. Some teams have daily agile meetings, some have quarterly, so not quarterly, some have fortnight meetings, 15 days meetings, some have a weekly meeting. So it depends on your team. But overall, people are helpful. Your mentor, you're assigned a mentor who is most probably an SD1 or an SD2, and he's at most of the times guiding you. helping you how to figure out things, getting you familiar with the technologies used in the team, and telling you what are your deliverables and how do you start doing things. So that person is obviously your best buddy in the team, and then there is a manager and other team members. So in the internship experience, I would say that mine was pretty good, but at certain times you can also feel kind of demotivated. You can feel that you are not able to cope up with things. Plus, if you are the only intern in the team, then you can say that you can feel that you are not able to cope up with certain things, and people are not very helpful. So at that time, I would suggest that talk to your manager, talk to your mentor, openly communicate with them what you feel. If you're feeling comfortable, if you're not feeling comfortable. Plus, certain teams have mm, weekly fun activities. They play games online, dictionary, and other things. So overall, the internship experience in Microsoft is quite great because the work-life culture, which is carried out in Microsoft, is actually quite great. You learn a lot of technologies, a lot of impactful technologies. In my first team, I was in Outlook Mac, where we had to make Outlook app for the Mac systems. And in the second team, I was working in the back end of Outlook. So both were quite impactful, had a large audience reach, and you were able to see your impact. With whatever change you do in the software, you are able to see how many users are using it, and it feels really great to see that there is something so much impactful that you are doing. So overall, the experience is great, and you will all the new selects will obviously have a great internship experience like us. Now, the main thing that the people would like to know is how to get a PPO, and as Malvika said, we'll come to that later because that's not part of this question as per my knowledge. So, yeah, overall, the experience is great, and nobody will feel demoralized or dejected in the Microsoft.
Okay. Utkarsh?
Yeah. So my internship basically was majorly concerned towards front end development, and a few of the few features I developed were also C sharp in the back end, but majorly it was in front end. And as everyone else suggests, like told, like the culture at Microsoft is amazing. They help you throughout, and they give you ample of time to learn new technologies, understand the code base. And the first 2 weeks, I would say that you should totally dive deep into the code base that you are giving to work on, and understand the architecture that the people are using, how they have developed code, and understand the writing style, like the coding style of the developers in your team. Because that when you're creating PRs, it will be helpful with the comments that the feedback you are going to get from them, and that would really help you in getting the PRs pushed quickly. So other than that, I think reaching out to your mentor is one of the most important thing. You should not sit on some problem for many days. Like you should quickly try to first, you should definitely research your problem and try to find out a way. And when you have exhausted your resources, you should definitely reach out to your mentor, ask for some guidance. And you cannot expect a definitive answer from them, but definitely they'll guide you to a direction so that you would be able to find the solution easily. And equally, like participate in various team activities, and not just like basically mentor would be a one point of contact to reach the team, like very, like you can get him on call most of the times very easily, but also try to bond with other team members, and they would also be able to help with you in various projects and features. Basically, in my experience, I had to work with different people. For like my mentor was on leave for a month or so, so I had to suddenly work with other people in the team. And because I had talked to them earlier, it was much easier for that transition to happen. And even with when you're changing from technologies, like I went from React to C sharp, and C sharp was totally new to me, but because the team members were very supportive, I was able to easily get the hang of it and start my contribution towards the features. And even like you should ask for feedback from your manager and participate in scrums that happen like alternate days or weekly. They have these daily check-ins also they have, and at that point you should definitely share your progress till now and what you will be doing and all these things. Like participate basically in the team activities and understand how they work the whole software development life cycle in that part. And as Malvika mentioned regarding the design documents, I think that is a very important part of Microsoft development procedure. You have to write design documents before starting with the coding for any feature. And that is one thing that I learned in this internship only, like documenting each and every idea that you have for implementing this feature and then proceeding it with. So that helps and also gets you an early feedback from all the senior developers over there. So yeah, that's from my side.
Okay, Naman.
Yeah. So my internship experience was a bit difficult in the starting. Actually, since I'm not from computer science, as you all know, uh, there are a lot of stuff that I don't know, and I had zero experience in development, right? So when I went for the internship, we are given access to MS Library and Pluralsight. MS provides these resources to everyone, and your mentor and manager provides you things to learn, right? So my first 2 months, if I remember, they were just into the learning part. I used to go and scroll up Pluralsight and read whatever I wanted to, and then I was given a project, and after the project, still, uh, I didn't know how to start it, right? So talking to team members is the first thing that you should do, because not just to your mentor or the buddy you're given, but actually with the whole team, because there are a lot of things that your mentor, that your buddy doesn't know. So you should always try interacting with other people as well. And what my mentor and manager focused on was on the learning part. A lot of times I was demotivated while the internship, but when I used to do one-on-one calls, and they told me they are not looking for the result, they're not looking for anything. They just want to see our attitude towards learning new things. They don't want a bad attitude. Actually, they're just looking for if you can learn things, because this is very progressive. आपको धीरे धीरे सब कुछ आने लग जाएगा. स्टार्टिंग में किसी को कुछ नहीं आता है, धीरे धीरे सब कुछ वो सिखा देते हैं. एंड जस्ट टॉकिंग योर thought process, they're going to tell you your mistakes. And in the end, I remember, still in May, I had no impact, and I remember I just had 3 or 4 PRs, but my manager just focused on the learning part. He just saw, like, I was working on things, I was trying hard. That's what they look on. They don't look on whether you're giving an impact or not. They just try to see, are you a good are you going to be a good software engineer or not? And in the end, you're going to make it. Just what you have to do is you have to learn things, you have to learn all the technologies. They'll give you every resource. They're going to talk to you. You can talk to anyone. And this is how that was my internship experience. And at the end, it really went well, because I came out in a very good manner. I had C sharp, I had React as well, which I didn't know. And there are a lot of things you're gonna learn throughout your internship, right? Just don't panic about the internship that you don't know this thing or that thing. Just try to learn. They're gonna give you a lot of time to learn things. And for the PPO, we're gonna cover it, right? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the next question is that only. Any tips you'd like to give to your juniors to convert the internship to PPO, and they can make the most out of their internship?
Okay. So coming on to the PPO part, whenever you're given a project in Microsoft, you have to write the design doc, right? So you don't have to write a big design doc. What you have to write is a crisp design doc, and the architecture. They just want to see the impact. So talk about the impacts, talk about the things that you've done and that you've contributed. For example, if you have reduced latency to some X%, and how did you do? So the first thing for PPU, you should know what impact you have given to the company, what's your contribution, and how did you do it, what was the learning. Second thing, coming on to the interviews, they're going to ask you data structures, right? So I would say in the end, in the last month, you should just try to start practicing normal data structure question. Don't go for the hard ones, just the easy one, because I'm sure if you're gonna crack Microsoft's internship, you're pretty good coder, right? So just in the last month, try to just get a hang of it. Try to start with some easy question, and oops is a must. I still remember I didn't know a lot of things while on interviews. Like they asked me about singleton set and a lot of things. I do not know about DBMS OS. I had no experience in it. But what they try to see is, are you conveying a thought process in a good way? Whenever you're given a coding question, what I used to do was, before starting writing the code, I used to list some points. Like, for example, there are 3 points that you have to do in the question. You just write steps on the above part. Like, the first thing I'm going to do is the reverse function, then I'm going to traverse and whatever. Just write it, so that whenever you forget the question in between of coding, you can just refer to the points that you wrote on the above, right? So always start with easy questions and write down the points that you have to do. This is how I used to do while coding question. Uh, it really went out well, actually, because the interviewers liked it. So just prepare with the easy questions, and the for PPO interviews are like just okay, not very tough, but medium level. Yeah.
Adding to Naman's answer, the tips for PPO, this is order wise, like how I'm going. So the first thing I would be suggesting is ki- keep your manager updated. Like whatever you have done, like if you have Scrum meetings, doesn't matter, but keep your manager updated with everything. Like what, like if there was an issue and you have solved it now, just message her, like message him or her. Like what I used to do was ki, ठीक है, um wait for a second. Yeah, sorry. So like keep your manager updated. So in my experience, like we used to have Scrum meetings daily, but the thing was, if I have solved something, the error got resolved, I used to message my manager. She didn't reply me back, but still I used to message her. So that was one positive thing. Second thing I would suggest is, it doesn't matter. Like if you think that you are slow, and put in extra efforts. Like if you think that this problem should have been solved in 2 days, so put in extra efforts. But like put in extra hours, put in extra efforts. Your manager and mentor should know how much efforts you are putting. Show them like you have done all these things. So keep them updated. Since it's a virtual internship, it's more difficult to show them how much effort you are putting. So in this case, you have to handle it. You have to communicate more. And as far as Naman told about the exit interviews, I was lucky enough that DSA wasn't asked in my exit interviews. Only the project that I have worked on, they asked the details about it and how I solved it, etc., etc. So there are two kinds of interviews, either like DSA interview or as appropriate interviews. So in the DSA one, obviously DSA is asked. In the as appropriate one, the project will be asked. So yeah.
Yeah. So adding on to how to get a PPO. So I was, as I already told you, I was part of two teams, and both of my teams were poles apart in their behavior. So the first thing is that you should always be hoping for the best, but you should always be prepared for the worst. The thing is that, as Malvika said, keep your manager updated. So in my first team, that was the case. My manager was very friendly. He was a very middle-aged person. He was friendly person, and he did the coding himself also. So your immediate manager is called M1 manager, and his manager or her manager is called M2 manager. So what happened is that what happened is that yeah, uh, as Malvika said, you have to keep your manager updated. But I would also say that you have to keep your manager happy also, because in my second team, we had very less talks with our manager. What we were doing, nobody really updated him except the mentor. But we had to keep him happy. He was very fond of seeing what impact you were making. So what I'm saying is, it really depends on your dynamics of your own team. You have to be very adaptive in how your team is working. If your manager wants outcome, then he needs results. He won't look for what you are doing. Or in my first team, my manager was focusing on my learning, as Naman said. But in my second team, my manager was focused on if I was making some PRs, if I was committing code. He always said, "You have you have been here for 1 week. Where is your first PR?" He was very focused on that. So again, comes to team dynamics. You have to keep your manager happy as well as updated. Plus, you have to keep your mentor updated, and mostly mentors are always happy because they're SD1, so you don't need to keep him happy, but updated is sufficient. You should always be polite. I remember that in my first team, I did a bad, I not bad, I had to review my mentor, and I gave somewhat kind of a rude review, but I didn't know that he has to give my review also, and then he gave a very bad review about me, and I was devastated. I was like, my PPO is gone. I won't get a PPO now and other things. But luckily, my team changed after that, and from the next team, I kept my mentor as well as manager very happy. I was very friendly. I was polite. Whatever they said, I was like, yes, I will do it. Yes, yes, yes. So you have to keep both of them happy. Don't be rude. If you can, you must have a little communication with your M2 manager also, the manager of your manager. It's very difficult to have a communication with him. Not everyone does it, but if you can, sometimes 1 or 2 meetings with that person also, it would be good for you. And at when your internship is about to end, your manager is asked for your feedback. What I was told that manager has three options: hire, no hire, or strong hire. If you are recommended as a strong hire, then you have only one interview round, A round. If you are recommended as a hire, then you have one technical round and one A round. And if you are recommended as no hire, you have nothing. So, and the manager then comes to mentors. He asks the mentor, or if he is knowledgeable, not if he has enough knowledge about you, he will recommend it himself. Or in my team, he asked my mentor to recommend something. But again, it depends all on your luck. I was asked, I was recommended as a strong hire. I was told by my mentor that I was a strong hire, but still I had one technical round and one A round. And in both the rounds, I was asked PSA questions by some M1 manager or some other team. So it really depends on your luck. And lastly, what I would say that you might you must strive hard for your PPO. You must do all your things within your deadlines and stuff, but you should always be prepared for the worst. Sometimes you can have the most awesome experience out of anybody in your Microsoft internship. You can have multiple PRs, multiple merges into the main branch. You can have the best outlook. You can have the best relationships with everyone, but you still can be rejected. Many of our friends, they had the best internship experiences, but they were not given PPO. So at the end of the day, it boils down to a little bit of luck also, but you should always do your best. We can't compromise on that, but you should always be prepared for the worst also. That's what I would say.
Uh,
A bonus tip, just remember your manager's birthday. Actually, I just want to share this experience. One like the whole team forgot my manager's birthday, and I remembered it. So yeah, she was quite happy with it. So yeah, keep your manager happy. That's important.
One more tip: laugh when he or she laughs. You are the best manager. Ha 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 ha. Laugh at his jokes.
Okay, so tips from my side regarding the PPO offer. So basically, the basic part is you have to communicate with your team. That's the most important thing. As everyone else also said, you have to keep your manager updated. Though you must be having scrums and sprint planning and all those things, other meetings with your manager, but still, even in the beginning, also like when you are writing your core priorities and responsibilities for the semester, you can talk to him regarding some meetings like once a month at least, where you are sharing your entire progress till now, or any problems that you specifically faced while implementing anything, or something that you want to work on. In my case, like I started with React, and at a time like I also wanted to try out some new things with C sharp. So I was able to communicate it to him during my one of the like Microsoft has this review process where you sit with your manager and take like write two sections. One is like what did you do till now, and how could you have done those things better? So those calls are very important, and in that part, like, you should very clearly communicate with your manager, understand his feedback, and what are his expectations from you. And like, some might, as Shiva mentioned, that in the starting early months they would expect you learning milestones and what you have learned at that point, but later they would expect some pull requests and code commits from you. And those, like, you should understand their expectations at each point, and that can only happen when you communicate with them. With mentor, it's much easier because he's your buddy, and he's almost like similar age, like 1 or 2 years elder if he's just SD1. And maybe SD2s also, like, you can easily communicate with them and have like alternate day call or week once a week or something of that sort. But with manager it's a lot tougher, so it would be better if you plan ahead, and you can schedule calls accordingly, and then you can communicate your problems or expect, like, and understand his expectations as well. And with that, like, I think all the managers understand and help you out in that way once you have communicated your part. And for the interviews, as Shivam already explained, the three, like, hire, no hire, and strong hire part, it's this, like, that's what happened with everyone. Some of us had two interviews while some had only one. So in my case, I had two. One was totally technical, which included data structures and algorithms, some of the OOPS concepts, and the data structure questions were very easy and not as hard as you might think, like basic, medium, or easy level lead code questions. And the as appropriate round, it is basically with some lead or some like a managerial, like high managerial position person. And in that, he basically will ask you some basic questions. Nothing, like, in my case, it wasn't any technical question. It was mostly about the internship experience, what did you learn, and what are the core concepts, or how was your experience and all. And that's all they asked from me in the as appropriate round. So that would be my experience for the PPO.
Okay, great. So, do you guys think that there are any prerequisites before we go for an internship, or the skills one should be proficient in beforehand?
Basically, you
Um,
don't know what project you might be working on beforehand. So I don't think, like, you will be able to know exactly what you'll be working on, but you get ample of time to learn the technologies. No one is going to be hasting you about it, like start implementing or something. You will have enough time to learn things during the internship.
Okay, cool. So, these were the questions we mostly had. Now, Jatin will take over and we'll discuss questions from the Google form you guys asked questions. Hi, Jatin.
Uh, so yes, so now we have questions from second year and first year. So they are very basic and questions that arise as a newcomer in college and as a freshie. So the first question we had was how many languages to learn?
just one language is enough.
What's the
Take
question?
one language and ace it.
Okay, and what courses to take?
Like, are there any course recommendations from your side when one is in preparation phase?
I personally didn't take any course. I just learned from the YouTube channels. What I have seen other people doing is taking some coding ninjas courses and something like that. But I personally didn't take any.
Yeah, even I would suggest free YouTube channels, and different, like, YouTube has a lot of content and you can easily understand the concepts from there.
What I think is taking up a good course is a better way, Utkarsh, because actually when we try to learn things from YouTube, we just see videos, right? Unless we are not eager to practice it and code it ourselves. But when you take up a course, like they do have deadlines, no? You can just join any of the courses. Like I personally did from Coding Ninjas, and why did I did it? Because There are two reasons why I thought of it, because Coding Ninja's course is very expensive, which is why it's like I don't have to waste my money, so I have to do it. Second thing was it had deadlines. So these two things made me took this course. Initially, I had a course from GFG which did not have any kind of deadline, and I used to procrastinate and don't do things. And a lot of people have GFG, but in the Coding Ninjas course, they try to log the videos, which is why the student has to do it within the deadline. So what I did was, and what I recommend is to take up a course so that you can uh, do things in the deadline itself, and you can practice on the assignments within the course. And I personally did it from Coding Ninjas. I took two courses. One was this Introduction to Data Structures, and second was Competitive Programming.
Yeah, I would say that it really depends on what kind of person you are. If you are intrinsically agile, you can learn from YouTube channels. But I would side with Naman on this topic. I personally did a lot of courses. I did one course of Coding Ninjas for competitive programming. And the thought process was same, that I am putting a lot of money, so I have to do it. Otherwise, it's all a waste of time. But for other things, also I did a lot of courses. We didn't have deadline. For C++, I did a course by, I think, Tim Buchalka from Udemy. For React, I think I did a course again on Udemy from Academind. I mean, I didn't buy it. There are some websites where you can download the Udemy courses for free using torrents. So I did that. I personally am a course lover person, so I did that. Also, I again did some other courses for Ethereum blockchain development and other stuff. So it really kind of boils down to how are you? If you are a kind of person that can open a YouTube channel, go through a playlist, practice on your own, you have that motivation within yourself, then go for it. But you think you're kind of lazy, you will procrastinate. You, if you spend money, then only you will study. Then you can go for and buy expensive courses. The courses are also very good. It's not like the obviously there will be a difference between the quality of what is taught on YouTube and what is there in the Coding Ninjas courses. Coding Ninjas courses are obviously at a very high level. So you will learn obviously, but it really depends on what you want and how are you yourself.
Also the thing is, like I prepared myself for Microsoft within just 4 months. I remember the lockdown started in February and March 15th. I started it from March 15 itself, and I ended the preparation for Microsoft in July. So within the 4 month span, you cannot just go and stumble upon YouTube when you don't know what's the path. By taking up a course, you have a specific road path, right? You have, but on YouTube you sometimes you do have a jumbled playlist, no? That's why, again, course is a better way if you go.
So yeah, taking from Shivam sir and Naman sir what they said, like if you are a course person, so Coding Ninjas and Udemy are a popular choice, or you can follow YouTube. And also we are provided Coursera IDs by PEC also. Our batch was provided that due to lockdown. So you can check that out also. And now the next question is how to manage and what extra work to do for placement apart from college studies.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is how to manage and what extra work to do for placements apart from college studies.
I'm assuming this question is mostly asked by other branches. I mean, I really can't comment on being an electrical engineer in fact or a mechanical engineer, how you can prepare. I really don't know. But for computer science students, I can say that the course pretty much is the college course is pretty much straight lined with what we need. I mean, you really don't need to do much other things apart from practicing DSA, practicing a little CP, doing a little development. Also, when we want to make projects in computer science branch, we have courses like EAD. We have to make one project for that. Sometimes we have to make project for Python. So it kind of gets streamlined with what the resume wants. What should be in the resume. For other branches, for EC, maybe no one can add, but I don't really for other branches.
There's no specific course that you should learn. Actually, when you go and try for computer science, for this computer science industry, I guess the topics are common only. Maybe for electronic student or for other branches, maybe the interviews they don't really much prefer OS DBMS. Oops is a must, but OS DBMS, I mean, you can just tell them that you're not from this branch, or maybe the basic is enough for you guys. But when it comes to computer science, I guess it's a very important topic because like myself, I even don't know anything about development. I didn't know anything at that time. So just you should just focus on oops and the programming paradigms. I mean, you should write a good code. That's enough for them.
I think the question is asking how you will manage between what is being taught in the course curriculum in college and what is required for placements. I mean, obviously for placements we have to do coding and DSA and stuff, but sometimes the college curriculum is very hectic in electrical or mechanical branch. They have a lot of two tough subjects. So I think maybe the person is asking that how you will manage between those two, and I really don't know how you will.
Um, I guess the only thing you should do while you prepare is just the consistency. Just don't try to take more breaks. And I guess 1 2 hours a day when you're on your normal days, and maybe on weekends you can stretch. Like my schedule within those 3 months was like I used to study at night because at night we and I guess we you guys have online semesters, no? So you have a lot of time. So I don't think this should be much of a thing for you guys.
Yeah, so now continuing, we have some questions on the similar theme now. How a non-circuital student can crack a placement at Microsoft? Is there a scope for non-circuital branch in top coding companies? And other question is, I'm in non-CS branch. Uh, can I get placed in software company? So could you brief everyone about how a non-circuital student could get into companies like Microsoft or other higher brand software companies?
So I guess you should not think it that way. There's nothing like you're from non-CS background. The only thing matters is that are you good at coding or not, right? If you're good at coding, you're gonna crack any company that's gonna come. The issue with the online, I mean, on-campus placement is like the big companies, tech giants like D, Short, CJ, Microsoft. They don't allow non-circuital branches, right? But you can apply for them through referrals, and even for non-CS backgrounds, you should just focus to the subjects, and it is all the same. The only thing I should say is, I mean, you can be a bit lenient on the OS and OS DBMS part, but data structures and OOPS is must for everyone who's gonna try for these big companies. That's from my side. You should not just think about it like CSE students. They're gonna take up CSE students. Yeah, they're gonna take them as well. But if you can compete with them, there's no point. Even I guess from third year, I guess Prashant, who did not have much CG. I guess CGPA is also not a barrier. Who did not have much CG. He's in Google, if I am not wrong. So just don't think about it. Think about the preparation. That's enough, I guess. Yeah.
And to add on to that, like I have some friends who were from non-CS background and got jobs in various tech giants. So please look out for off-campus opportunities. And as Naman mentioned, go ask for referrals on link on platforms like LinkedIn. And this like in November last year, Microsoft had Engage program for taking in mentorship and interns, and through that they offered full-time offers. So in that they are not looking for your branch, and with referral and your own resume that you have, you might be able to get into various tech giants.
यार ऐसे मतलब रेफरल मिल जाते हैं, मतलब वो हार्ड नहीं होता होगा रेफरल मिलना?
Snehil, if you're good enough and you have a good resume, I don't think someone would have problem to pitch you in. No, so just try to showcase your abilities. Try to showcase what you are, what qualities you have, and what are your technical achievements. Like if you do code forces or do something, some kind of competitive programming, or you do have some good projects, you can pitch him in, like write a cover letter for yourself and then pitch for a referral, and yeah, it will go.
सर एंड इंटर्न से पहले कितने प्रोजेक्ट हो कि मतलब इट्स गुड इनफ कि आपको इंटर्न मिल जाएगी?
um I guess CSC guys.
दो, मैं तो कहूंगा दो भी अच्छे होंगे तो बहुत है, तीन बना
I would
लिया तो
say I would say
दो भी
one
One
one is
one is
enough.
also enough. One is
हाँ, मैं
also enough, I
दो, एक
guess.
मतलब दो ऑन सेफर साइड। दो पे तुझे कोई मना नहीं करेगा कि दो क्यों बनाए है, ये तो बहुत कम है यार, तू इंटर्न के लिए कैसे अप्लाई कर सकता है। तो दो तो मोर देन
नहीं एक्चुअली
सफिशिएंट।
हमें कभी छुट्टी भी नहीं मिली ना अभी तक, तो हमारे पास तो वैसे वो टाइम भी नहीं मिला ना कि लाइक वी
यार
हैव इनफ टाइम वैसे।
तुम लोग का ऑनलाइन ही तो चल रहा है सब कुछ,
हाँ वही,
तो
नहीं
फिर
तो फिर
ऑनलाइन में छुट्टी ही है ना
ऑनलाइन छुट्टी तो है पूरा दिन।
भाई। I mean, yeah, this is kind of excuse. I would say don't think of it that way. Just try to work on it, and you're gonna get it.
एंड सर ऑफ कैंपस कितनी हार्ड होती है मतलब ऑन कैंपस से, मतलब लाइक अगर ट्राई करने जा रहे हैं तो कितना हेक्टिक हो सकता है वो प्रोसेस?
I would say the process will remain the same. The part where you will struggle is getting a referral or getting a call. Even the referral you will get, but वहाँ से call आनी is difficult. As far as interviews are concerned, they would be of the same level.
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
I guess, but there are more number of interviews as well. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah,
gonna
sure.
have telephonic interviews. You're gonna have F2F.
ओके
So
ओके
you're gonna have more interviews, but on campus they're less. And second thing, you can just think of कि college में तुम्हें 100 बच्चों से compete करना, but
यस
off
सर, यस सर,
campus
हाँ ज़्यादा भी बहुत
लाखों
है।
बच्चे।
यार प्लस मिड सेम एंड सेम से एक हफ्ते से पहले से तो कोई पढ़ता नहीं है। मतलब तुझे 10 ही सीजी लानी है वो तो अलग बात है, बट नॉर्मली नहीं पढ़ते तुम। तो टाइम तो बहुत है। प्लस एक क्वेश्चन शायद बोला था उसने कि इज देयर स्कोप फॉर नॉन सीएस स्टूडेंट्स, तो स्कोप तो है, ये क्वेश्चन इटसेल्फ फ्लॉड है। स्कोप तो है ही, तुम पढ़ोगे करोगे नहीं वो अलग बात है। इसको
यस सर,
सबकॉन्शियस
यस सर।
माइंड में इसको सबकॉन्शियस माइंड में नहीं रखना है कि सीएससी के बच्चे हैं, सीएससी में बड़े फिर बम बच्चे होते हैं, वो तो पता नहीं क्या कर लेंगे। सब वैसे ही होते हैं, जिसने तैयारी कर ली उसको आता है, जिसने नहीं की वो सीएससी में भी नालायक है। तो इसमें ऐसे नहीं लेना होता, इसको
या
सबकॉन्शियस माइंड से निकाल लेना चाहिए।
हाँ, मतलब यही होता है यार, क्योंकि क्या होता है, अच्छा तुम देख लो जैसे है ना, अभी माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में आई गेस 18 या 20 बच्चों का लगा है, और 4-5 ईसी से है, और एक इलेक्ट्रिकल से। एक्चुअली दी ओनली थिंग इज कि तुम अगर प्रिपेयर करोगे तो तुम बाकी सीएससी के बच्चों को भी पीछे छोड़ सकते हो, ठीक है ना। इट डिपेंड्स ऑन यू गाइस। सीएससी के बच्चे ज्यादा अच्छे होते हैं वो माना, बट हम भी प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं नॉन सीएससी स्टूडेंट, राइट। तो अगर तुम प्रिपेयर करोगे तो दिस इज जस्ट फॉर योरसेल्फ। अगर आप खुद के लिए पढ़ोगे यू गोना गेट दैट। और एक ही कंपनी नहीं होती, बहुत सारी कंपनीज होती हैं, ये भी सोच के चलो। तो अगर एक
यस
कंपनी
सर,
में नहीं
यस।
होता तो कभी डीमोटिवेट नहीं होना है, ठीक है।
ओके।
एंड अ लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स आर देयर जिनको इंटर्नशिप अच्छी अच्छा, वन मोर थिंग यार, पता है क्या होता है, a lot of people get demotivated after intern नहीं मिलती। I had a friend in electronics as well, he was a good coder, जिसको internship नहीं मिली थी। तो इससे ना डीमोटिवेटेड नहीं होना। ये पता है, ऐसे सोचो दैट प्लेसमेंट्स के टाइम पे यू गाइस हैव 6 मंथ्स का स्पैन जब तुम एक्स्ट्रा प्रिपेयर कर सकते हो, और काफी बच्चों की तो प्लेसमेंट ऑलरेडी लग चुकी होती है, पीपीओ मिल चुका होता है ना। तो प्लेसमेंट्स के टाइम आप काफी बच्चों से आगे जा सकते हो अगर तुम उस इंटर्नशिप वाले टाइम में अगर अच्छे से प्रिपेयर करोगे, राइट। तो अगर इंटर्नशिप भी अच्छी नहीं मिलती है ना, यू हैव अ लॉट ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज प्लेसमेंट्स के टाइम। ऑफ कैंपस को छोड़ो, प्लेसमेंट्स में इतनी कंपनीज आती है, अगर इंटर्न में नहीं मिलती प्लेसमेंट मिल जाएगी, ठीक है।
सर तो इंटर्न नहीं मिलती तो वो 6 मंथ क्या करता है मतलब वो बंदा?
uh, यार ऐसे कोई होती है कंपनीज इंटर्न्स जो लगवा देती है, और कॉलेज के कोर्सेज ले लो।
अच्छा
आई
अच्छा।
पर्सनली सजेस्ट इस कॉलेज के कोर्सेज ले लो,
हम्म,
जिससे तुम्हारे पे ज्यादा बर्डन नहीं हो, एंड प्रिपेयर फॉर प्लेसमेंट्स,
ओके सर,
ठीक है। या
ओके सर।
Plus, you should have one, I would say, it really depends on the person, but you should have one good peer with whom you do coding. I mean, एक बंदा भी अगर होगा ना, दोस्त या कोई क्लासमेट, जिसके साथ तो थोड़ा डिस्कस करता है कि मतलब आज मैंने ये क्वेश्चन किया वो किया, उससे थोड़ा बंदा ट्रैक पे रहता है, स्ट्रीमलाइन रहता है। अगर एक दो बंदों के सेम गोल्स हो तो थोड़ा सा रहता है, एक दूसरे को देख के इंस्पायर होते हैं, एक दूसरे के लेवल को देख के थोड़ा पुश करते हैं खुद को, वो भी बेटर होता है। कुछ बंदे अकेले भी कर लेते हैं कि बस अकेले प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हो गया, बट मोस्टली अगर एक अच्छा ऐसा बंदा हो जो तुम्हारे साथ सेम गोल शेयर करता है तो उसके साथ एक कंबाइंड प्रिपरेशन की जा सकती है।
Yes,
depends on.
yes.
So now we have questions related to CGPA. So what is the CGPA criteria for Microsoft, and what is a safer CGPA to keep to get selected? And what was the CGPA of selected candidates? Like this was the question.
So when Microsoft came during our internships, it had a CG limit of 8, like जो भी 8 से ऊपर CG वाले हैं सिर्फ वही अप्लाई कर सकते थे. So obviously CG plays an important role here. Like जिन लोगों की 7.9 थी, इनफैक्ट वो भी नहीं कर पाए. So if you are applying on campus, 8 से ऊपर CG, I think they ask. And in fact अगर तुम referrals भी लेने जाते हो, so this time जब Microsoft Engage के लिए भी लोग अप्लाई कर रहे थे, so they had a limit कि 7.5 से ऊपर CG होनी चाहिए. So I think Microsoft focuses a bit on CG, and above 8 is on a safer side.
Yeah, to agree with Malvika over here, because even if the companies are coming with no CGPA cutoff, they might still like prefer people with CG above 8. Like at least above 8, if you have, you are in the safe zone, and 7.5 plus is a must. For like most of the companies have this criteria. At least for internship, I think is 7.5. 7.5 plus is like most of the companies will have this criteria.
एंड वन मोर थिंग, अगर आपके 7.5 नहीं भी है तो प्लीज डोंट बी डिमोटिवेटेड अबाउट इट, बिकॉज काफी बच्चे हैं जिनको बहुत अच्छी इंटर्नशिप्स मिल जाती है. एज आई डिस्कस, थर्ड ईयर का एक लड़का गूगल के अंदर है एंड ही हैड 5.35 सीजीपीए ओनली. सो सीजीपीए फर्क पड़ता है अगर अच्छी होगी. लाइक आई हैड 8.06 बिफोर माय इंटर्नशिप सेमेस्टर. तो अगर 8 से ऊपर है तो यू आर ऑन अ सेफ साइड, बट अगर 8 से नीचे भी है ना तो डोंट गेट डिमोटिवेटेड. द थिंग इज यू आर गोना हैव अ लॉट ऑफ एम्पल ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज इन योर लाइफ, एंड आज नहीं मिलेगी तो कल मिल जाएगी अच्छी जॉब. ठीक है, तो कभी इन सब चीजों से डिमोटिवेटेड मत होना.
So you'll also have a pre-placement training. उसमें सब कुछ बताते हैं तुमको. हमें तो ये बताया गया था कि अगर तुम्हारी सीजी अच्छी है तो तुम्हारी सीजी बुरी है तो तुम्हारे खिलाफ कोई नेगेटिव पॉइंट नहीं होता, पर अगर तुम्हारी सीजी अच्छी है दैट इज अ बोनस पॉइंट कि तुमने सीजी भी मैनेज करी है और तुम बाकी का भी देख रहे हो. So next question we have is how many people were selected after coding round?
The exact number was 40, I think.
Yeah, it was something around 40 only for 2022, I think.
Yeah.
And the next one is how many interns were selected from that?
I think 19 were from our year. Like from BTech, there were 19, and one was from MTech.
Okay, so next we have at what time Microsoft comes in college.
Within first week or 1.5 weeks, usually Microsoft used to come like सबसे पहले Microsoft आती थी, but I guess now it's like Arcesium, D Show, and then Microsoft, Goldman, and then Microsoft.
Okay, so how was your whiteboard interview experience?
Only 1 second. Someone is writing top 40 fastest solvers were selected. Uh, मुझे लगता है बस फास्टेस्ट का नहीं होता क्राइटेरिया.
नहीं नहीं,
मतलब
fastest तो नहीं था. I guess it would be based on how how have you coded.
मेटल पे टेस्ट होता है,
Yeah,
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट प्लेटफॉर्म पे टेस्ट लेती है. तो बस फास्टेस्ट नहीं है, गलत
and
करेगा क्विज करने के चक्कर में तो क्या ही होगा.
and I think for our case, like we had different set of questions. Everyone had a
Yeah.
unique set of questions, so there was nothing like who will solve it faster.
Uh, how was your whiteboard interview experience? This was our question.
Whiteboard, since now it's all virtual, so basically they would tell you to open like any document or something and then write there. As far as I know, I had to open a notepad and then I have to write my code there, so there was no indentation or anything. So that is something that you need to like practice beforehand, like how you will be coding without indentation and stuff like that. And since there won't be any like automatic code completion, no semicolons, etc. So you need to take care of that. Uh, Apart from that, it's like fine.
Yeah, in
For
Microsoft, code editors are not allowed, and most probably you will be given a link for code pair or something where the interviewer can also see your like when you're writing the code, they will be able to see what you're writing, and or sometimes like I had one round where I had to code it on Notepad, other one was on this code pair link. So it depends on an interviewer to interviewer, but you can't use any code editor with some syntax highlighting or indentation things.
Also, one thing I would like to add here is while you're writing your code, uh, take care of what variable names you're using, what is the name of your function, and like you don't like add extra steps or something. Like obviously इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि efficient तुम लिख रहे हो, but naming the variables and naming your function names and how many variables you're using, like you don't use any unnecessary variables or something. Yeah, take care of that as well.
पर्सनली इस सिनेरियो में मेरा थोड़ा सीन अलग था। जब मेरा माइक्रोसॉफ्ट पे इंटरव्यू था तो मुझे लगता है मैंने एक कोड एडिटर पे ही आईडी कोड लाइट पे शायद कोड किया था। मेरा इंटरव्यूअर भी काफ़ी चिल था और उसने मुझे कहीं पे कहा था करने को। मैंने कहा सर यहाँ पे कुछ हो रहा है, प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, तो फिर हमने अपनी कोड एडिटर पे कर लिया। मोस्टली नहीं करने देंगे वो, पर मेरा थोड़ा सीन अलग था तो इसलिए हो गया। प्लस एक अंश का मैं एक क्वेश्चन लिखूंगा, सीपी कितनी डेप्थ में करनी चाहिए। यार फिर इस पे भी कुछ लोग डिमोरलाइज हो जाते हैं, प्लस तुम्हारे ऊपर होता है। बट देख जैसे जब माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का कोडिंग टेस्ट हुआ था तब मोस्टली ज़्यादा सीपी टाइप क्वेश्चंस लोगों को नहीं आए थे मोस्टली, बट मुझे आया था। मुझे एक क्वेश्चन आया था, 3 क्वेश्चन थे कोडिंग टेस्ट में, जिसमें एक क्वेश्चन था यूलर टोशन फंक्शन कैलकुलेट करना था। विच इज मतलब ठीक है, सीपी भी कह सकते हैं, नहीं भी कह सकते, बेसिक क्वेश्चन भी कह सकते हैं। तो इट रियली डिपेंड्स ऑन अ लॉट ऑफ फैक्टर्स। सो एज सच मैं तो कोई कॉन्क्रीट आंसर नहीं दे सकता, बाकी अगर दे सकते होंगे तो दे।
Even I had that Euler question, and
सही
also yeah, also I remember from my second interview of Microsoft. Actually, I had CP in my resume, and the interviewer was from South India, and South Indian guys are like they're gonna beat you out. No, he asked me very tough questions. So what I think is not just DSA. I mean, if you're gonna start with competitive programming, you're gonna have good problem solving skills. तो पता है, the thing is learning. अगर तुम अच्छे से करोगे ना, प्रैक्टिस अच्छे से करोगे, सीपी से गुड थिंग। और सीपी से कुछ बुरा नहीं होता एक्चुअली, तुम्हारी सॉल्विंग एबिलिटी ही बढ़ेगी। तो व्हाट आई थिंक इज सीपी इज अ गुड थिंग। उससे करोगे तो तुम्हें डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स काफी आसान लगेगा। एंड लिटरली कॉन्टेस्ट हेल्प्स यू अ लॉट, बिकॉज काफी बच्चों को एक एक डेढ़ डेढ़ घंटे बैठने की प्रैक्टिस नहीं होती, बट व्हेन यू गिव कॉन्टेस्ट यू गाइस हैव मतलब अच्छे से बैठने की सिटिंग प्रैक्टिस हो जाती है। एंड इट इज ऑल्सो गुड फॉर रेज्यूमेस। तो कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग अच्छी चीज है।
आई फुली एग्री विद नमन ऑन दिस पॉइंट। एक्चुअली जब हम लोगों को बोलते हैं कि डीएसए प्रिपेयर करो, वो लोग जीएफजी या लीड कोड खोल देते हैं। अगर जीएफजी खोल रहे हो फिर मतलब मोस्टली पीपल मैंने देखा क्या करते हैं, वो क्वेश्चंस को रटना शुरू कर देते हैं। मतलब अगर के लार्जेस्ट एलिमेंट्स है लगा दूंगा, मिन हीप लगा दूंगा, या मैक्स हीप लगा दूंगा, या क्विक स्टेट लगा दूंगा। मतलब वो एक स्पेसिफिक स्टैंड जिसको हम स्टैंडर्ड क्वेश्चंस कहते हैं उनको रटना शुरू कर देते हैं जब हम बंदे को बोलते हैं कि डीएसए पढ़ना है। तो इधर पे सीपी और इंटरव्यू जब आता है तब बंदा पैनिक कर जाता है। उस टाइम पे हाथ हड़बड़ाने लग जाते हैं, सांसें फूल जाती है जब क्वेश्चन आ जाता है सामने। तो सीपी काफी हेल्प करती है उस चीज में। अगर आप कॉम्पिटिशन दे रहे हो, कुछ ज्यादा भी नहीं देना है, तुम कम कम कॉम्पिटिशन भी दे रहे हो, महीने में एक या दो, उससे काफी ज्यादा कॉन्फिडेंस खुद पे आ जाता है कि मैं नया क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर सकता हूँ। कोई ऐसी चीज है जो स्टैंडर्ड नहीं है, मैं उसमें भी लॉजिक लगा सकता हूँ, उसको सॉल्व कर सकता हूँ। उससे इंटरव्यू में काफी हेल्प होती है। इंटरव्यू में स्टैंडर्ड क्वेश्चन ही आएगा मोस्ट प्रोबेबली, बट अगर तुमने प्रिपरेशन के टाइम स्टैंडर्ड क्वेश्चन रटे होंगे या कुछ मैपिंग सी बनाई होगी दिमाग में, फिर वहाँ दिक्कत आ जाएगी अगर सीपी की होगी। सीपी इज ऑलवेज अ प्लस पॉइंट। मैं तो पर्सनली रिकमेंड करूंगा सीपी।
या एक्चुअली पता है बहुत अच्छी चीज होती है। पता है लॉट ऑफ टाइम मैंने गो इन इंटरव्यू ना, तुम्हें काफी चीजें ध्यान नहीं आती, और तुम एक ही चीज को लेके अगर तुम ध्यान रखोगे ना कि नहीं ये क्वेश्चन तो हीप से ही होना था, तो तुम्हें हीप के अलावा कुछ और सूझेगा नहीं। बट कॉम्पिटेटिव प्रोग्रामिंग में जो प्रॉब्लम स्किल होती है ना, वो तुम्हें डिफरेंट डोमेन सिखाती है क्वेश्चन करने के। लाइक आई रिमेम्बर एक क्वेश्चन था इन माई इंटरव्यू जिसको ट्राई सिक करना था, सर्चिंग करनी थी, बट आई did it in a better way using sliding window technique. तो तुम सीपी से काफी अच्छी टेक्निक सीख सकते हो, ठीक है, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग स्किल्स टेक्निक्स ये सब आ जाती है, जिससे तुम्हें एक क्वेश्चन के करने के काफी सारे तरीके दिख जाता है, ठीक है। तो दिस इज माय पर्सनल रिकमेंडेशन एज वेल।
Just to add on to this, basically, don't just do it because you are supposed to do it for interviews, because you're not supposed to do it. You can do it because it gives you an edge over problem solving. It definitely does. If you have been practicing contests on Code Forces, Code Chef, you are able to approach to the solution much faster than someone who hasn't. But it is not compulsory that you do it, and if you're writing it on your resume, you should be very well in that area, because they will, if you are saying in your introduction that you are a competitive programmer, they are going to ask you that level of questions then. So be sure what you mention. And it's, as again I would say, it's not compulsory, because I didn't do any competitive programming. And understand the questions that you're doing for DSA, don't mug them up, but it's like it should be your choice, and not that you have to do it, basically.
प्लस इसमें एक और चीज़ है, कुछ क्वेश्चंस डीएसए में ऐसे होते हैं जिसकी कुछ स्टैंडर्ड सोल्यूशन इंटरव्यूअर एक्सपेक्ट कर ही लेता है। मतलब अब ऐसे में कोई एग्जांपल नहीं है, जैसे मान लो क्वेश्चन है डिटेक्ट साइकिल इन लिंकेज, इसके बहुत तरीके करने के, बट इंटरव्यूअर एक्सपेक्ट करता है तुमसे वो हॉर्स एंड टॉर्टोइस वाली कोई अप्रोच जिसमें दो पॉइंटर होते हैं, एक स्पीड से चलता है, एक दूसरी स्पीड से चलता है। तो कुछ क्वेश्चंस होते हैं ऐसे जिसमें एक स्टैंडर्ड सोल्यूशन है जो एक्सपेक्ट किया जाता है बाय इंटरव्यूअर। तुम अगर उसको उससे बेटर सोल्यूशन भी दे दोगे ना, तो हो सकता है वो अटक जाए कि एक जो काफी फेमस सोल्यूशन है वो कहाँ है। तो वो भी पता होने चाहिए। जैसे मुझे पता है, मेरा एक दोस्त था, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का इंटरव्यू था और यही क्वेश्चन था कि डिटेक्ट साइकिल इन लिंक लिस्ट। तो उसने बहुत सारी अप्रोचेस बताई, पर उसने वो हॉर्स और वो वाली नहीं बताई जिसमें टू स्पीड से पॉइंटर चलता है, और उसको निकाल दिया, खत्म। इट्स रियली डिपेंड्स ऑन अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स।
So, okay, the next question is, what is the thing in Microsoft that makes Microsoft different from other IT companies in terms of programming?
वेरी बैड डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, पता नहीं कुछ खास।
हाँ, मतलब ऐसा कुछ खास नहीं होता। आई वुड से वर्क कल्चर काफ़ी अच्छा होता है एज़ कम्पेयर टू अदर कंपनीज़। लाइक यहाँ पे ऐसी तुम्हारे पास कोई फिक्स डेडलाइंस नहीं होती हैं। वैसे अदर बाकी कंपनीज़ में भी नहीं होती आजकल, बट जैसे गोल्डमैन इज़ अ बिट फेमस कि वो ज़्यादा काम कराती हैं। माइक्रोसॉफ्ट इज़ नथिंग लाइक दैट। काफ़ी चिल होता है। डेड मतलब चिल तो नहीं होता, बट हाँ ठीक है, ऐसी कोई फिक्स डेडलाइंस नहीं होती है। वर्क कल्चर अच्छा होता है। सारी टीम्स लाइक पर्सनली मुझे लगता है कि शायद हम में से जिस सबकी टीम्स काफ़ी अच्छी थी, सबके मेंटर्स बहुत अच्छे थे। इन माय टीम वी यूज्ड टू हैव फन फ्राइडेज। दैट वाज द ओनली वे फॉर मी टू बॉन्ड विद माय टीम. So yeah, I would say like if you go to Microsoft, you won't be disappointed with the kind of work hours you will be having, or like what the team members would be there, या फिर किस टाइप का तुम्हें काम मिलेगा. Also, Microsoft has a lot of options. मतलब this is one thing that I really appreciate here, कि बहुत सारे तुम्हारे पास ऑप्शंस होते हैं. मतलब हर माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का हर लाइक हर फील्ड में कुछ ना कुछ काम है. So that is one thing that I really like about Microsoft. So yeah.
So our next question is, how many rounds are there after coding test for an intern?
3 are there, 2 technical and 1 HR round.
Okay, so now we have some general questions. Which tech field was most recruited, like web developers, Android developers, or ML engineers?
I don't think that plays any part. Like, if you have a project, you should be able to defend it, and that's all what they ask for in the interviews.
Yeah, they didn't share this much information of how many people in different domains did they recruit. I think it's a top managerial question. They didn't share any kind of this statistics with us, but yeah, mostly intern is hired when a manager submits a request to the higher authorities that we have a task and we would like to have a person over here who can solve this task or who can help us in solving that task. ऐसे इंटर्न असाइन नहीं हो जाता है, इंटर्न असाइन होता है जब टीम किसी टीम को जरूरत होती है तभी असाइन होगा. तो इट रियली डिपेंड्स। इतनी बड़ा कंपनी है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, इतनी बड़ी कंपनी है, इतनी टीम्स है, इतने डोमेन्स है, तो इट्स रियली हार्ड टू प्रेडिक्ट कहाँ पे किसको असाइन कर लिया, बिल्कुल वेब डेवलपर लिया या एंड्रॉइड डेवलपर लिया, इट्स रियली हार्ड टू से।
Yeah, so next question is about what goals did you set for yourselves? Like after each year, what targets did you have? Like after first year, I have to do this language, or after second year, I have to do this.
यार आई पर्सनली, मेरे तो पर्सनली ऐसे कोई टारगेट्स नहीं थे यार। जब हम आए थे हम तब तक आईआईटी जेई प्रिपरेशन के हैंगओवर में ही थे कि अब तो एंजॉय करनी है कॉलेज लाइफ एक्स्ट्रा, प्लस सीएससी मिल गया है तो अब तो मजे ही है। तो ऐसी कोई डेडलाइंस मैंने अपने लिए नहीं रखी थी, बट ऐसा था कि फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में सबने एक सी प्लस प्लस सीखी थी, सीएससी डिपार्टमेंट में सबने सी प्लस प्लस सीख ली थी फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में। फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर के बाद मैंने पर्सनली कंप्यूटर कोडिंग शुरू की। वो भी मैंने क्यों शुरू की, क्योंकि बाकी बच्चे कर रहे थे, सब कोड शेफ पे लॉन्ग चैलेंज में कम्पीट करते थे और एक दूसरे से करते थे, मैंने इतने क्वेश्चन कर लिए, मैंने इतने कर लिए, तो मैंने भी शुरू की। सेकंड थर्ड सेमेस्टर में मैंने डेटा स्ट्रक्चर एल्गोरिथम सीखा सेकंड सेमेस्टर में, वो भी कॉलेज के कोर्स से ही, और साथ में थोड़ी सीपीसी शुरू की। थर्ड सेमेस्टर में मैंने कोडिंग निंजास का कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग का कोर्स कर लिया। और फोर्थ सेमेस्टर में लॉकडाउन लग गया, फिर घर जाके बस पढ़ते ही रहे कि क्या है प्रिपरेशन कैसे करनी है। और बस, मतलब कुछ ऐसा कुछ हार्ड एंड फास्ट नहीं था कि क्या गोल सेट किया, मैंने तो नहीं किया था, बाकी ने किया कुछ, आई डोंट नो।
Uh, I had some goals. Actually, I started around mid of my fourth semester. Uh, since electronics, मेरे को बिल्कुल भी आइडिया नहीं था कोडिंग क्या होता है। मेरे को हैश इंक्लूड इवन द फर्स्ट लाइन में वो कुछ भी नहीं पता था फोर्थ सेमेस्टर से पहले। बट आई हैड सम फ्रेंड्स इन माय ब्रांच ओनली हु स्टार्टेड कोडिंग एप। तो बिकॉज थर्ड ईयर आने वाला था, तो 4 मंथ्स में हाउ आई सेट माई टारगेट वाज, मैंने 15th मार्च को जब मैं घर आया था ड्यू टू द लॉकडाउन, I started by I took up a course coding just once again. तो मैंने यहाँ से कोर्स किया। जब मेरा कोर्स हो गया था, what I tried was I मैंने एक टारगेट बनाया था that I'm gonna complete around 300 questions over lead code, right? 300 क्वेश्चंस मैंने लीड कोड पे किए। फिर लीड कोड के बाद जब जब मेरे जब मेरी कोडिंग थोड़ी ठीक हो गई थी, फ्लुएंट हो गई थी, देन आई शिफ्टेड माई सेल्फ ऑन टू कोड शेफ। तब मैं कॉम्पिटिटिव में घुस गया था। एंड फिर कॉम्पिटिटिव में थोड़े 200 क्वेश्चन करने के बाद आई ट्राइड कोड फोर्सेस। दिस वाज आई यूज्ड टू सेट टारगेट्स फॉर माई सेल्फ कि मेरे को इतना जल्दी ये करना है। दिस इज हाउ आई यूज्ड टू कोड। और 4 महीने में मैंने सिर्फ टारगेट बेसिस पे अचीव किया था, बिकॉज मेरे को उससे पहले कुछ कोडिंग नहीं आता था।
Okay, let's move on to next question. How did you prepare for aptitude test?
India Bix, man, India Bix is good for aptitude.
Okay, so next question is how to peel off the pressure before and during the ongoing process of interview.
Jatin, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so question was how to peel off the pressure before and during the ongoing process of interview.
Uh, I guess you should talk to your friend or anyone. I guess the pressure is just before the interview, but when you go in an interview, uh, the interview is just so calm and the pressure is just relieved. I guess हो जाता है यार. मतलब ये pressure के बारे में मत सोचो, बस talk out to your friend or someone and try to have everything on your table before going to an interview. सब कुछ अपने साथ रखो and अपनी तबीयत का ख्याल रखो. बस I guess that's enough. And yeah, I mean, pressure मत feel करो before an interview. It's just easy.
प्रेशर हैंडल करने के लिए बिफोर इंटरव्यू आई वुड से जैसे बाकी चीज़ों का प्रेशर हैंडल करते हैं नॉर्मली, वैसे इसका भी करना है. जैसे जिसको कोडिंग नहीं आ रही, जिसने कोई कोडिंग नहीं की है, अब वो बैठ गया कोडिंग टेस्ट में या हो गया कोडिंग टेस्ट चीटिंग मार के और बैठ गया इंटरव्यू में, उसको तो प्रेशर होगा ही. अब जिसने कोडिंग की है, प्रैक्टिस वैक्टिस की अच्छी अच्छी, उसको थोड़ा कम होगा एज कम्पेयर टू द अदर पर्सन. उसको परफॉर्मेंस प्रेशर ज्यादा होगा कि मैंने इतनी कोडिंग की है यार, अब तो हो जाना चाहिए. तो अगर इंटरव्यू से ज्यादा बंदा डरता है, मतलब एक नॉर्मल फेयर तो होता ही है, वो सबको होता है, सब थोड़ा काम से पहले वो मैनेज हो जाता है. अगर ज्यादा ही डर रहा है बंदा, तो मेरे हिसाब से काफी वेबसाइट्स है जिसपे बंदा रैंडम लोगों के साथ शायद इंटरव्यूज दे सकता है, पीयर इंटरव्यूज कर सकता है. मे बी वहां बंदा प्रैक्टिस कर सकता है पहले कि इंटरव्यूज कैसे देने हैं. आई थिंक देयर आर सम वेबसाइट्स, वो पेड है या फ्री है आई डोंट नो, बट यू कैन ट्राई दैट. अगर ज्यादा डर लग रहा है कि इंटरव्यू से पहले क्या होगा क्या होगा क्या होगा, नॉर्मल सा डर है तो उतना तो रहेगा ही, उतना रहेगा ही. डर भी रहेगा ही, डिप्रेशन भी थोड़ा रहेगा ही, वो चीजें रहेंगी. इसका कोई तो कोई इसकी कोई वो नहीं है बूटी की वो सब गायब हो जाएगा, तो थोड़ा तो रहेगा ही. नॉर्मल है, ह्यूमन नेचर है वो.
Okay, so next question is interview related. How to introduce yourself to an interviewer, and if I get stuck on a question asked by the interviewer, how to deal with it?
Just give a normal introduction about yourself and don't try to move out of the technical range. Technical range के अंदर रहो. Don't tell that you like football or something. जो भी relevant है for the job, है ना, वो बताना है हमने. उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं बताना है. सेकेंड थिंग, अगर तुम कुछ भूल जाते हो तो डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. ट्राई टू थिंक ऑफ सम आंसर, ट्राई टू थिंक ऑफ समथिंग, बट they're gonna give the interview is gonna give you hints, like you can do it in that way. Maybe this is a question of queue, maybe think from the queue approach. तो अगर आप स्टक हो जाते हो, डोंट पैनिक अबाउट इट. द इंटरव्यूअर इज गोना हेल्प यू विद इट. तो सब हो जाता है, हिंट्स तुम्हें मिलते रहते हैं, वो इंटरव्यूअर बताता रहता है, तो ये डरने की बात नहीं है. बट द ओनली थिंग इज बी पेशेंट एंड काम. इंटरव्यू के टाइम पे जस्ट बी पेशेंट, अपना थॉट प्रोसेस उनको बताते जाओ. व्हेनेवर यू कोड इट, व्हाई आर यू डूइंग इट, वो तुम्हें पता होना चाहिए कि तुम क्यों यूज कर रहे हो, तो क्यों कर रहे हो. तुम स्टैक्स यूज कर रहे हो तो क्यों कर रहे हो, ये सब चीजें पता होनी चाहिए. जस्ट अपना थॉट प्रोसेस उसको बताओ, दैट्स इट.
फॉर इंट्रोडक्शन, जैसे कि नमन ने बोला टेक्निकल रेंज में ही रहना है. ये नहीं बताना है कि पापा ये नौकरी करते हैं, भाई इस क्लास में पढ़ता है, या मैं पता नहीं कहाँ से हूँ, मैं फिरोजपुर से हूँ या मैं कहीं से. तो मेरा जो इंट्रोडक्शन था वो काफी छोटा छोटा भी नहीं था, ठीक था कि मतलब मेरा ये नाम है, मैं 8th सेमेस्टर का स्टूडेंट, या अभी तो 8th हूँ, तब 4th सेमेस्टर का स्टूडेंट हूँ. मेरे को थोड़ी यही है, कोडिंग कोडिंग करता हूँ थोड़ा थोड़ा, और ये पता था एक आध प्रोजेक्ट ये है इसमें बहुत जल्दी बहुत क्रिस्प वे में खत्म कर दिया था टेक्निकल रेंज के अंदर ही कि क्या है. और ये कोई नहीं इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है नहीं हमसे पूछने के लिए, मतलब तुम नेट पे भी सर्च कर सकते हो, हाउ टू गिव अ ब्रीफ डिस्क्रिप्शन इन अ टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू, बहुत आंसर्स मिल जाएंगे करो तो इसमें कुछ इतना है नहीं. बाकी अगर तुम किसी क्वेश्चन पे स्टक हो गए हो, अब स्टक होने की बहुत लेवल्स होती है. तुम थोड़ा सा स्टक हुए हो, मिडिल लेवल में स्टक हुए हो, आता ही नहीं है, बिल्कुल ही नहीं पता कुछ. अगर बिल्कुल ही नहीं पता कुछ, समझ पता ही नहीं है क्वेश्चन है क्या, फिर तो यार क्या ही कर लेगा, मतलब थोड़ा ट्राई कर लेना, बट इतना भी इमोशनल नहीं होना है क्वेश्चन के साथ. बहुत सारे इंटरव्यू थे मेरे जिसमें मैंने सीधे बोल दिया मुझे क्वेश्चन नहीं आता, नहीं आता, मुझे नहीं पता क्या हो रहा है इस क्वेश्चन में या कैसे करना है, हिंट दे दो थोड़ी सी, या नहीं पता मुझे. अगर वन वर्ड क्वेश्चन है जैसे कि वट एवर वर्चुअल मेमोरी क्यों साइज बढ़ जाता है, कुछ ऐसा नहीं पता, तो फिर तो यही बोलना है नहीं पता, उसमें क्या ही फेंकना है इधर उधर का. थोड़ा मीडियम मीडियम लेवल पे अटक गए हो, थोड़ी सी अप्रोच आ रही है, आगे नहीं बन रही है, तो उसमें जैसे कि बोला पहले भी सबने कि थॉट प्रोसेस अगर तो कम्युनिकेट करता जा रहा है, और अगर इंटरव्यूअर एक डिसेंट इंटरव्यूअर है, वो हिंट दे देगा, वो बोल देगा अच्छा तो यहाँ पे अटक गया, उसको समझ आ जाता है, तभी तो वो इंटरव्यूअर है, तभी तो वो इंटरव्यू लेने आया है। कोई भी थोड़ी इंटरव्यू ले लेता है, तो वो कर लेगा हेल्प। बड़ा ही खड़ूस इंटरव्यूअर होगा जिसकी चांसेस कम है, फिर हाँ वो वैसे घूरता रहेगा बस कि हाँ हाँ करो करो करो, तो वो अलग बात है, वो तो फिर बैड लग है थोड़ा। बाकी इतना कुछ नहीं है, वही है जो बाकी प्रोसेस है, बोलते रहना है, वो हिंट दे देते हैं। बिल्कुल नहीं आता तो बोलना है बिल्कुल नहीं आता, नहीं आता, उसमें कोई टाइम वेस्ट करने की बात।
और प्लीज रेज्यूमे देख के लिखना, जो तुम्हें नहीं आता बिल्कुल ही मत लिखो। अगर तुम्हें ओएस नहीं आती तो मत लिखो। अगर तुमने ओएस लिख दिया और इंटरव्यूअर ने ओएस पूछ लिया और फिर तुम्हें नहीं आता, दिस इज अ बैड थिंग। बट तुम्हें नहीं आता तो तुम उसको बता सकते हो कि मुझे नहीं आता। तो ये ध्यान रखना कि वट एवर यू हैव रिटर्न ऑन योर रेज्यूमे, he'll assume that you know it and he's gonna ask anything related to it. तो अपना resume देख के बनाओ, that's the tip.
और प्रोजेक्ट्स भी देख के लिखना, जो बनाए हैं खुद ही लिखना, अब ऐसे नहीं कहीं से भी लिख दिया कुछ भी और फिर पता ही नहीं है वहां पे वो प्रोजेक्ट में हो क्या रहा था, बेसिक भी नहीं पता है उस प्रोजेक्ट का, ऐसे तो किसी का ले लिया, तो वो भी मत करना। थोड़ा तो पता होना चाहिए प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में, क्योंकि पूछेगा वो तो इंटरव्यू रेज्यूमे पे लिखे ही होंगे तुम्हारे।
So yeah, guys, as I mentioned in chat, the questions were getting repetitive in the form. So if you have any questions, you can ask them right now, or we'll wrap the meetup. Yeah, Kamal, you can ask a question.
सर ओपन इलेक्टिव कोर्सेज जो हमें कॉलेज ऑफर करता है वो कंप्यूटर साइंस स्टूडेंट और कोडिंग के लिए कौन से यूजफुल रहेंगे?
ओपन इलेक्टिव कोर्स जो कॉलेज ऑफर करता है, तो उसमें
हाँ
क्या
जी सर।
यूजफुल, क्या यूजफुल रहेगा, क्या पूछा आगे?
वो कंप्यूटर साइंस स्टूडेंट के लिए कोडिंग की तरफ कौन से कोर्सेज यूजफुल रहेंगे? जैसे आपने बी पैक्सी किया तो आपको भी ऑफर किए होंगे।
फर्स्ट थिंग ये है, अभी ओपन इलेक्टिव तो किस सेमेस्टर में?
सर आई गेस इनको जो हमारे जूनियर्स हैं उनके टाइम पे इंट्रोड्यूस हुए हैं, हमारे ईयर में भी नहीं थे। जो हमसे जूनियर ईयर है उनमें आया ऑप्शन कि दे कैन ऑप्ट फॉर ईदर डीबीएमएस और दे कैन चूज नॉट टू ऑप्ट फॉर डीबीएमएस। as much as I know, they have an option for that, but they'll get extra credit for choosing the course, and उसकी सीजीबी रिलेटिव उनके उसमें ऐड होएगी।
तो कोर्स का एक ही ऑफर है बस, डीबीएमएस?
For second year, current second year, I noticed that they have an option for DBMS. They can choose it, and they have an option for not choosing it also.
अगर इफ यू हैव एन ऑप्शन टू नॉट चूज इट, आई गेस मत चूज करो, ओवरबर्डन मत करो, सीजी बचा लो जिससे तुम इंटर्न के टाइम प्रिपेयर कर सको, क्योंकि तुम्हें सीजी अच्छी चाहिए फॉर गेटिंग इनटू गुड कंपनीज।
सर जो ओपन इलेक्टिव कोर्सेज है ना किसी भी ब्रांच का कम से कम एक लेना पड़ेगा।
अगर एक लेना है तो व्हाट एक्चुअली स्टूडेंट्स डू इज दे ट्राई टू टेक अप द कोर्स जो इजी स्कोरिंग होता है, राइट? तो ऐसा कुछ सब्जेक्ट चूज करो जिसमें तुम्हारी सीजीपीए बढ़ सके। थिंक फॉर सेल्फ कि तुम अपनी सीजीपीए कहाँ अच्छी कर सकते हो, बिकॉज आई गेस डेटा, अगर तुम डीबीएमएस लोगे जस्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ क्रेडिट्स या फिर कुछ भी, डीबीएमएस तुम्हें हिंडर करेगा। आई एम ट्राइंग टू से कि अपनी सीजीपीए बचाओ एंड learn something in the meantime.
ठीक है सर।
हाँ
The talk I talked, yeah,
नहीं, मैं
please
कहने वाला
continue.
था कि वैसे भी कॉलेज वालों ने वैसे भी कुछ पढ़ाना है नहीं, तो अगर तुम डीबीएमएस ले भी लोगे तो तुम्हें डीबीएमएस आ नहीं जाएगा, तो मतलब डिपेंड, इतना कुछ खास पढ़ना नहीं है तुमने वैसे भी, और वो फिर तुम्हें एंड में यूट्यूब से ही पढ़ना है, तो मर्जी है वो, मतलब सीजी बचा के लो, नमन की बात मान लो।
सर जैसे कोडिंग के लिए आपने कहा कि हर दिन 1 घंटा दे सकते हैं और वीकेंड पे हम 2 से 3 घंटे दे सकते हैं। पर सर जैसे हमारी अब सारी स्ट्रिक्ट क्लासेस चल रही हैं और सैटरडे को भी वर्किंग है, तो फिर हम टाइम को रिड्यूस कर सकते हैं ना?
कमल यार, एक्चुअली ना थिंग इज कि ये मुझसे मत पूछो या किसी और से मत पूछो। ये तुम्हारे पर है कि तुम कितना उसके अंदर डाइविंग कर सकते हो। अगर तुम्हें लग रहा है कि तुम्हारे आधे घंटे से चल जाएगा काम, तो मैं तो कह रहा हूँ मत ही करो अगर तुम्हारा चल जाएगा काम। बट अगर तुम्हें लगता है कि तुम्हें प्रैक्टिस करनी चाहिए, देन डोंट थिंक ऑफ दिस थिंग। ठीक है, ये मत सोच कि 1 घंटे से कम कर लूँ या 1 घंटे से ज्यादा कर लूँ चल जाएगा। तू जितना ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस करेगा उतना ज्यादा तू अच्छा होएगा। ठीक है, तो ये क्वेश्चन मत, ये क्वांटिटाइज करने के लिए नहीं है क्वेश्चन कि 1 घंटा पढ़ लो तो हो जाता है। हम में से किसी ने ये सोच के प्रिपरेशन नहीं करी कि आज हमें 1 घंटा, रोज का 1 घंटा बैठना है, ये नहीं करा हमने। ठीक है, वी ट्राई टू सिट जितना हम बैठ सकते हैं, जितना हम टाइम निकाल सकते हैं, हम ऐसे करते हैं प्रिपरेशन। ठीक है, तो तुम जितना टाइम निकाल सकते हो तुम्हारे लिए बेनिफिट है।
ठीक है सर।
प्लस ये 1-1 घंटे वाली स्ट्रेटेजी कमल चलती है भी नहीं। कभी ना कभी कोई ना कोई काम आ जाएगा, नहीं बैठ पाएगा 1-1 घंटा। तो अगर तेरे को करना ही है, प्लान आउट करना ही है चीजों को, तो प्लान्स आइडियल नहीं होने चाहिए कि आज 1 घंटे में 5 क्वेश्चन कर लिए, कल 1 घंटे में 5 कर लिए। प्लान्स आइडियल नहीं होने चाहिए, प्लान्स में स्कोप होनी चाहिए एरर। नहीं कर पाया आज, तो कैसे मैं इस लॉस को मैनेज करूंगा, वो भी प्लान के अंदर इंक्लूड होना चाहिए, अगर तेरे को प्लान बनाना ही है। और हर दिन 1 घंटे बैठने का तो टाइम में तो प्लान बनता ही नहीं। वैसे भी अगर मैं प्लान बनाता था अपने टाइम, वो क्वेश्चन में बनता था कि आज 5 क्वेश्चन कर लूंगा या आज 6 कर लूंगा। फिर उसमें टाइम 1 घंटा लग जाए, 2 घंटा लग जाए, वो तो क्वेश्चन के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है। कभी कभी क्वेश्चन इतना टफ होगा तो 1 घंटे में एक भी नहीं कर पाएगा, जीरो होता है। तो एरर्स भी अकोमोडेट कर ले टाइम में, कि अगर कल मेरे को 1 घंटा बैठना है या कल 5 क्वेश्चन करने हैं, मान लो मैं नहीं कर पाया, तो मैं कैसे उसको लॉस को रिकवर करूंगा परसों या उसके अगले दिन में भी। तो ऐसा एक थोड़ा सा 3-4 दिन का एक एरर प्रूफ प्लान बना, अगर बनाना भी है।
ठीक है सर। थैंक यू सर।
वो डॉक मैंने चैट सेक्शन में शेयर किया है जिसका मैंने बोला था। And Naman is taking up some course. He wants to introduce yourself about that. Introduce you about the course.
I mean, this is acha coding, guys. I'm taking up a live course on coding ninjas, right? जिसके अंदर I'm gonna teach you guys data structures and algorithms right from the start of introduction to C++ till the end of DP and whatever stuff that comes in the end. So if you're thinking up to join a course, maybe you can join mine because I'm going to take up class on the weekends live. We're gonna have classes from 11 to 2. सुबह 11 बजे से दिन के 2 बजे तक. I'm gonna take up 3 hour classes, 3 hour long classes on Saturdays and Sundays from February 19. So you can, if you're thinking to join a course, then maybe you can join this course because I'm gonna handle your doubts live. तो this is what I wanted to convey to you guys. तो अगर तुम सोच रहे हो किसी कोर्स का, so you can just look up to that thing because बाकी तुम्हें हर जगह कोर्सेज प्री रिकॉर्डेड मिलेंगे. जो कोडिंग निंजास जीएफजी वगैरह के अभी कोर्सेज हैं पुराने, दे आर प्री रिकॉर्डेड, जो 2-2 साल पहले से प्री रिकॉर्डेड है. तो अगर तुम्हें कोर्स लेना है तो यू कैन जस्ट ज्वाइन दिस कोर्स. आई एम गोना शेयर लिंक विद गीतिका. शील ट्रांसफर यू गाइस, शील शेयर इट विद यू.
Okay, sure.
पेड़ है?
हाँ भाई, पेड है.
नहीं, मतलब कुछ डिस्काउंट मिलेगा, कूपन हमें कि नहीं?
नहीं, डिस्काउंट तो मेरा रेफरल है ना.
अच्छा, वो उतना मिलेगा, ठीक है।
हाँ, वो ये यार जो डीएस है नॉर्मल, बस मैं लाइव पढ़ाऊंगा मीट्स पे.
हाँ हाँ, ठीक है, बढ़िया।
दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड.
Yeah. So, yes. Any other questions? And the people who want the link can mention maybe their email IDs or something because I don't think we'll be doing the promotional stuff on the official Telegram page. But you can definitely mention your email IDs. I'll mail you.
So guys, if you don't have any